Stop everything and imagine this moment clearly. The doors close behind Oat and Boat after their intense warning. The mansion falls silent, and for the first time Shen Yue stands alone with a decision that could redefine her entire future. What if the words she speaks next are not just a response, but a declaration that changes the direction of every relationship around her? Stay until the very end, because what Shen Yue finally says is not what anyone expected, and it may completely shift how you see her strength, her heart, and her next move. The night after Oat and Boat confronted her was heavy with reflection. Their warnings still echoed through the marble halls of her mansion. Choose wisely. Choose yourself. Do not ignore the signs. Those phrases lingered like shadows stretching across polished floors. But Shen Yue is not someone who reacts impulsively. She observes. She absorbs. She thinks deeply before she speaks. By the next evening, the atmosphere had shifted. The mansion lights were brighter. The silence less suffocating. There was a calm resolve in the air that had not existed before. Oat and Boat were invited back. This time, it was not a surprise visit. It was deliberate. They arrived just after sunset. The sky outside was painted in soft amber hues fading into deep blue. When the doors opened, Shen Yue stood there composed, steady, no hesitation in her posture. They immediately sensed something had changed. Inside the living room, the same space that once felt tense now felt purposeful. She did not sit immediately. She stood near the tall windows, city lights flickering behind her like distant witnesses. You both came here because you care about me, she began calmly. Boat nodded first. Always direct. Always protective. Oat's expression softened. We only wanted you to see clearly. Shen Yue turned slowly to face them. Her expression was serious, but not wounded. Not defensive. There was clarity in her eyes. I did see clearly, she said. And that is why I asked you back. The room grew quiet. She walked toward the center of the room, each step measured. The tension was not explosive. It was focused. You warned me that I was standing at a crossroads. You said I deserved clarity. You told me not to choose out of fear. She paused, letting their own words settle back into the space between them. I listened. Boat exchanged a glance with Oat. And what did you decide? Boat asked carefully. Shen Yue did not rush her answer. I decided that I will no longer allow doubt to live comfortably in my life. That sentence landed harder than expected. Oat leaned forward slightly. Does that mean you are walking away? She shook her head slowly. It means I am no longer negotiating with uncertainty. The power in her tone was undeniable. For a moment, neither Boat nor Oat spoke. They had expected tears. Perhaps confusion. Maybe even hesitation. Instead, they were witnessing conviction. You both assumed I was ignoring the signs, she continued. But I was not ignoring them. I was weighing them. Boat raised an eyebrow slightly. And the outcome? Shen Yue inhaled softly. The outcome is this. I will not chase reassurance. I will not compete with inconsistency. And I will not shrink my expectations to make someone else comfortable. The words were not loud, but they carried weight. Oat smiled faintly. That sounds like you have chosen yourself. She met his gaze. I have chosen peace. The atmosphere shifted completely. This was not about ending something dramatically. It was about elevating standards quietly. Boat crossed his arms, studying her carefully. And if he comes back asking for another chance? Her response was immediate. Then he must come back with proof, not promises. Silence followed, but it was no longer heavy. It was impressed. Outside, the wind brushed against the glass again, softer this time. The city lights shimmered steadily. You were right about one thing, Shen Yue added. I was afraid. Not of losing him, but of facing the possibility that I deserved better. Boat's expression softened. And now I am not afraid. Those 4 words changed everything. In that moment, Oat realized something profound. Their warning had not pushed her away from someone. It had pushed her toward herself. Boat finally smiled slightly. That is all we wanted for you. Shen Yue's posture relaxed just a fraction. I know. And I am grateful. But what shocked everyone was not just her decision. It was what she said next. "I am not closing the door," she revealed calmly. "I am simply standing in the doorway and waiting to see who is brave enough to walk through it correctly." That statement carried both strength and fairness. It was not rejection. It was elevation. Oat leaned back, impressed. "That is a different kind of power." Shen Yue nodded slightly. Power is not about control. It is about boundaries. The conversation that once felt like intervention now felt like celebration. Not of a breakup. Not of a victory. But of clarity. Later that night, after Boat and Oat left once again, Shen Yue stepped onto her balcony alone. The skyline stretched endlessly before her. The city moved on, unaware of the quiet transformation that had just taken place. Her phone buzzed softly. A message. "Can we talk?" She stared at it for a long moment. Then she typed 3 words. "We can. Tomorrow." Not desperate. Not emotional. Balanced. Because the woman who once waited anxiously for reassurance now moved on her own timeline. And that is what shocked everyone. It was not a dramatic confrontation. Not a tearful goodbye. Not an explosive announcement. It was calm authority. The kind that cannot be shaken easily. The next morning, whispers began circulating. Friends noticed her confidence. Observers sensed the shift in energy. Even those who doubted her strength began reconsidering their assumptions. Shen Yue had not just responded to Oat and Boat. She had evolved. And perhaps the most mind-blowing realization of all is this. Sometimes the most powerful response is not choosing between people. It is choosing a higher standard for yourself. Now, we want to hear from you. If you were standing in that living room, hearing her words, feeling that calm certainty, would you have made the same decision? Would you wait for proof instead of promises? Would you stand in the doorway instead of chasing someone through it? Comment below and tell us what you would have done. Because sometimes the most shocking words are not loud. They are steady. And they change everything quietly.